we have the umbrella body of Polytechnic lecturers in Nigeria, the Academic Staff Union of Polytechnics, Asup, has announced plans to embark on a nationwide strike. This was disclosed by chairman of the Academic Staff Union of Polytechnics, Kaduna Polytechnic Chapter, Abubakar J. Abdullah. Abubakar said the union is planning to shut down all polytechnics nationwide next week, Monday, December 2, 2024, due to the Nigerian government's failure to meet its members' demands. He said on October 6, 2024, the union leadership issued a 15-day ultimatum to the federal government outlining pressing demands aimed at resolving the systematic challenges that hinder the progress of polytechnics. He added that the government had failed to address the issues. Regrettably, as we pass the deadline of this ultimatum, we are yet to see the necessary actions from the federal government to address these pressing demands. The silence and inaction have left us with no option but to consider the possibility of a total shutdown of our institutions, scheduled for December 2nd, 2024. Should our concerns remain unaddressed, he said. Speaking at a news briefing on Tuesday in Kaduna, the chairman listed some of the demands to include swift release of the second tranche of the Needs Assessment Intervention Fund, immediate implementation of the approved 25-35% salary review across all public polytechnics, and the payment of accrued arrears. Other demands are the release and final resolution of the decades-long arrears of Contis, 15 migration for lower cadres, the release of outstanding promotion arrears, addressing inadequate funding, and resolving the issues of unpaid allowances. Abdullahi affirms that the survival and quality of the educational system hinged upon the government's responsiveness. He stated that the union believes that a strong education sector is vital for the future of the nation and cannot afford to compromise on those issues any longer. He urged the Nigerian government to engage in meaningful dialogue with the union and take decisive steps towards resolving the challenges. Thank God you're a lecturer about this. So I'm sure you would have a lot of thoughts about the academic union of polytechnics. And we've had cases where, while I was in school, one of the reasons why we were scared as students was the issue of ASU strike and all of that, because it's a situation that comes up almost all the time, almost unplanned to us, and sometimes hinders or prolongs our stay in school. And we have the polytechnics have also embarked on their own strike. I am sure the ASU hasn't decided to embark on theirs too. ASU is mobilizing. They're mobilizing, so they will join them soon. Maybe not soon. Necessarily now, yes. But there are issues, yes, unresolved issues. Unresolved issues. So, but the ASUP has decided to embark on their own strike yesterday. What is your thought about this? Do you think there's also a similar situation with ASU? The issues are very similar, very similar. Unpaid allowances, failure to implement agreements. In the case of ASU, for instance, agreement reached since 2009 has not been implemented as of 2024. In fact, that agreement has been renegotiated. The renegotiated one renegotiated. The second renegotiated one renegotiated again. And each time you do these renegotiations, it is government asking ASU to make concessions again and again. And when those concessions are made, they are still not, the ones agreed on are still not implemented, and then it's carried over again. And this crisis just shows a very deep conspiracy, for me, between the Nigerian political class to emasculate education and learning, to emasculate the capacity of the citizens to actually be liberated intellectually and get to be more informed and to have the capacity to hold them to account and to question them. Because these have lasted since return to democracy, 2009 till now.
one government after the other, it is almost the same play card. It's as if that is one area where all the governments have been so consistent in denying the educational institutions their due and frustrating the system. And then the fallback on the entire system is that even when the unions, because of their love for the citizens and their love for their career and try to make sure that the system does not collapse entirely, finds a way to amend and concede and come back to work. But you cannot legislate the level of their commitment to work.
Yeah.
And the impact of these hangovers, unsettled allowances and payments and promotions and all that, on the quality of education that is given, and on the quality of the graduates that come out of school. And all these spiral into a very serious systemic crisis that ends up also haunting the entire system over time. So if government really have love and is ready to do the needful, they have to find ways. It's a huge problem. But if there is commitment on the part of government to begin to address these things the way it ought to be, there is a lot of goodwill on the part of the unions to work with the government to achieve them.
Yes.
A lot of goodwill.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Okene. Well, I'd love to ask you a quick question. As a senior lecturer of the University of Port Harcourt, when ASU goes on strike, we realize that sometimes it extends to 6 months, depending on how long it's the agreement gets to a point. I don't know how to put that. Well, sometimes it lingers for a very long time, and the students get affected. Sometimes some of them engage in vocational skills, some decide to drop out of school. You know, someone like, I can't wait for this long. Some relocate, some travel. What effects do you think that this strike has on education? Because education is a platform, is a stepping stone to every individual enhancement as a nation. What effect do you think that this strike has on the educational sector of the country?
It has a very destabilizing effect on the entire sector, on everybody. Let me start with the lecturers and the way it impacts lecturers.
Okay.
First, if you, the last prolonged strike we had in 2022, that lasted for 8 months. That strike, when we came back, the session that was admitted, the students that were admitted that were affected by that strike, we are still incorporated. So we ran two student sessions together. Now, what that meant is that you are supposed to teach, let's say, in some universities, you have up to 100 and something, 200 students in one set, and you now have 400. So you're teaching 400 students. If you give a continuous assessment test, you're marking for 400. If you give exams, you're marking for 400. And you carry that kind of load, consistent from year 1 to final year. That set is still in school, and that burden is still there. So, and that impacts on everybody. Then again, if you're doing something like as serious and engaging as academics, and you leave active teaching for 8 months, it affects the delivery, the lecturers too. The lecturers are still involved in research even while the strike is on. They are involved in community service. But in terms of that exercise of teaching and engagement, it impacts the lecturers. Students also come back after these breaks, and they have to relearn how to engage the process again. But the unfortunate thing is that before each of these strikes, there is notice in letters, there is information about the strike, that government will not do anything. They prefer to wait. It's only when these unions go on strike that they even begin to have any kind of attention from the government.
Talking about the unions going on strike, do you think when these unions go on strike, it makes the government sit up and try to, you know, find a way out of that situation?
From what I just explained, the unions will not even want to go on strike at all. No union will want to go on strike, because it affects us. It affects the unions. It affects their earning power. It affects everything. it's not just the salaries that lecturers earn. When they are in school and they are engaged and all that, you have other assignments that you do that could give you one or two small things. But when the system is completely shut down, you're completely at home. You're not doing anything else.
Yeah.
You're not able, if you have books that you have already published, people will not reach you. They will not be able to get to you to tell. If you have conferences to attend and all that, there will be no conferences within the system at that time. And it will affect your general productivity. It will affect your promotion and your qualification for the next ranks and all that. So the union, nobody really wants to go on strike. But unfortunately, it is only when there is total shutdown that the governments listen. And that's why unions end up going on strike.
To get the attention,
of
the
government.
So
and yet they will have agreements and fail to implement them.